So, have you ever wondered what Dave Ramsey's plans might be for retirement? What he thinks is important? Well, I kind of did, and I've always been a Dave Ramsey fan. We used his debt snowball back after my surgeries to get us back on our feet after running up some pretty extensive debt to try to keep ahead while I was recovering and off work for a long period of time. It did work great. So, I just thought we'd talk about what his views are on retirement and retirement planning and see where we all compare and differ. Okay. So the first thing is, obviously, things I talk about a lot on this channel is make your retirement goals and make them plain. If you don't know when you're going to go, where you're going to go, and what your goal is, priorities are, those kinds of things, you're never going to be able to make an accurate plan to get anything done. Okay, so you need to have a plan, you need to have goals, and then you need to prioritize the long-term stuff to make sure that you don't run out of money and that you have saved enough. And if you have to, then you need to work a little bit longer to make that number work for you. All right, so the next thing I would like to talk about is Dave Ramsey loves to use 15% of your income as a retirement number. Part of that is because of his belief that 15% is enough to make a real impact, but not enough to be a hindrance while you're trying to take care of your family, etc. So based on that number and using an example of $100,000 a year as income, if you put $15,000 away, because that's all pre-tax, into a 401k and made 8% over that money for the next 25 years and didn't even increase it, even though you made more money, just do the 15k, you'd have 1.1 million after 25 years. Not too bad of a little nest egg to work with. All right, so on point number 3, of course, this is Dave Ramsey, so we all know what the big thing is. Pay off your debts. And of course, use the baby steps, do what has to be done. Going into retirement debt-free is the smartest thing I think anybody can do. And if you have debts left, you need to focus on paying those off. It just doesn't make any sense. If you want to make debt after you're retired, when you know what your new plan is and how much money you have and you've done everything you can to get there, that's on you. But one of the easiest ways to get farther ahead and be ready for retirement is to save and not have debt. So which brings us on to the next step, and that is to catch up on your retirement savings. He even suggests possibly cutting any other possible costs that you can, that you don't need, that may be fat in your daily use and in your budget month to month, that you could remove so that you can try to bank even more money. Now, I'm not about living in suffrage. I don't think there's any need to do that. If you become debt-free, you should be prioritizing at least putting the money away that you used to spend on that debt to save. It doesn't mean you have to suffer any more than that. Because if you have living expenses and you've already accounted for all the things that you do, there's no reason to cut them even closer if you're out of debt already. So banking all the debt money that you used to spend and putting that money away, whether it's in cash reserves and high yield savings accounts, mutual funds, whatever it is, I think is plenty good. All right, next up point is to reevaluate the 4% rule. That has been a commonly used number for years in the financial world. It doesn't necessarily work for everybody, and that's one of the things you need to consider. And basically what his thought was, as if you're making a pretty decent return on your money in the 10, 11, 12%, you may be able to take more than 4% to enjoy your retirement a little bit better. So consider those things. Of course, talk to a certified financial planner. I'm not an expert and by any means, so make sure you talk to the right people to find out the right information. But they can help you figure out what you can safely take as a yearly returns or monthly returns and still have a decent budget to live your lifestyle and maintain your money for as long as possible. All right, the next thing we need to think about is you need to understand Social Security. Up to 49% of people that are retired, that is their primary source of income, and 90% of older people. And I think part of that may be because they possibly run out of 401k money. I don't know for sure that number, why it becomes larger, but as you grow older, you spend down money, and then you get to that point where this is what you have left. So, and we already know that by 2033, benefits are going to get reduced if we don't do anything to change that situation. So one of the comments that he has made is that consider Social Security as icing on the cake, not the cake itself. It's a nice added bonus if it's there still. But if you plan otherwise, between pensions and 401k distribution, then that can be the case for you, is to have that Social Security as an extra bonus that you can either save or put toward fun stuff that you like to do, or make it part of your giving. All right, so another big step here, and we've talked about this before, is that you need to prepare for health costs. And this comes from the EBRI, and there's some information that basically said that a retired couple will need $413,000 in health savings money, in addition to their 401k, in addition to their retirement funds. They're saying that you're going to spend an average of $400,000 just to take care of you and your spouse. That's ridiculous money, but that's the nature of healthcare. And as these healthcare costs continue to rise, as insurance continues to pay less, and as your money starts to dwindle and your health gets worse, the things you may need for healthcare are becoming more and more expensive. I can tell you, every time I have to have my pacemaker device replaced, which is about every 5 years based on battery life, because I'm 100% pace, so I burn through batteries. They don't just replace the battery, they replace the whole unit every time, because the technology gets better, so you want the best you can have in there. That runs approximately $100,000 for every surgery, even though it's an outpatient procedure, etc. The device and the surgical costs that go with it is at least $100,000, and it goes up every time. So I was hoping they get better technology with the battery, so I don't have to keep having it replaced. But my device is working nonstop 100% of the time, all the time. That's what keeps my heart beating, period. And so, if the battery wears out, the battery wears out. We do what we have to do. I'm on my 5th one right now in 20 years, so 4 to 5 years each, and that's about all they last. All right, and finally, we need to talk about long-term perspectives. One of the things Dave Rail really emphasizes here is that you got 3 different things that can kill your retirement and kill your retirement goals and dreams. The first one is impulse buying. You get to where you see this money in your account, you feel like you're a fat cat, and the next thing you know, you're buying things you don't need and don't need to spend money on. And that would include, when we talked about earlier, just because you have the money and you can afford a new car doesn't mean you need a new car. So run them to death. That's kind of where my mantra is nowadays. I'm going to run every car I got to death, and so far they're holding up pretty good. And then the other 2 are anxiety and fear. You're fearful of your 401k losing money because you're watching the market too much. You have anxiety over it, or you have anxiety and fear that you're going to run out of money. So be patient. Let the market do what the market does. If you put your money in safer investments that your financial planner can help you find and advise you on, you should be fine. And just play the safe long game. You got to prioritize long term. That means keeping as much money available as you can for as long as you can. Okay? So that's our comparison between Dave Ramsey and the rest of us. A lot of these points I've covered before, so I think we're doing pretty well if we can think about these things on our own. Anyway, thanks for watching. I appreciate any comments and a like. Have a good day. We'll talk to you next time.